Hello and welcome to the Lund University International Podcast. On the show, you'll hear from current students, alumni, teachers, and many more special guests as we explore what it's really like to live and study in Lund. My name is Elliott, and I am a current graduate student here at Lund University studying sociology of law, and I also work in the external relations department here at the university. Today, I'm happy to be joined with Emma. Thanks for being on, Emma. We're going to be talking about traveling as an international student in Europe, which is an interesting topic near and dear to my heart. But also from our conversation before this recording, we have a lot in common with traveling. So Emma, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Emma. I am from the U.S. I'm originally from California, but most recently live in Washington State. And I'm here in Lund getting my master's degree in international marketing and brand management. And I'm super excited to be here today because travel is my favorite thing to talk about. So we're excited.
That's great. I'm so glad to hear that you're excited. I think a lot of our listeners are also very excited. Being an international student requires us to do a lot of traveling, right? I bet you know the inside of airports better than probably a lot of your classmates even.
Yeah.
So tell me, what's it like to be an international student that travels a lot, like with jet lag and all that stuff? And then we can kind of go into maybe the trips that we've taken and our favorite experiences from that.
Mm-hmm. I kind of feel like at this point I've gotten it down to a science. It's
good.
like when you first start traveling, it can be like super stressful, super overwhelming. You're like, what do I have to take out of my bag at TSA? And like, how early do I need to be to my gate? But I feel like you just have to like make the jump and just like start doing it. And then like, the more you start to do it, you're just like expert. You're like, I'm going to be the most efficient person to go through security in the history of this airport. You're like, wow. You start feeling good about yourself.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever missed a flight before?
Oh, on my way here, actually, I thought I was going to miss my flight. I had a connecting flight in Paris to Copenhagen.
Okay.
And my flight from the U.S. got delayed.
Oh.
And I ended up having a 20-minute layover in Paris. And I was like, there's no way. There's no way I'm going to make it. Because I had to go through customs. And then I had to go through security again. And just like, there's absolutely no way. But I was like determined because if I didn't make it to Copenhagen, I couldn't check into my accommodations on time. And so I was running so fast for that airport. And I like made it to the gate. Yeah. And they knew exactly who I was. And I was the last person on the plane. And I was like breathing so hard. I think the people on the plane were probably like,
who is this? Yeah.
I think that's my closest call. But besides that, I've been pretty lucky.
Yeah. No, I think for a lot of international students, I mean, a lot of my classmates here at the university are from very far away. They're from Indonesia, from the Philippines, from Japan. So, I mean, and also from parts of Europe, things like that. So I think it's quite common for the people that we're surrounded with in class to be kind of well-traveled individuals, which of course is not the whole world. There's a lot of people that don't have the opportunities to travel. But a lot of the people that come to the university as international students, they travel. So you told me a little bit before about some of your adventures, even when you got to Copenhagen to come to Lund. So how did you get from Copenhagen to Lund? What was that? How did you get from one place to another?
It's super easy. Like my parents are coming to visit me soon and they're like, how are we going to get to Sweden? Like, how's that going to happen? I'm like, it's so easy. Like, there's a train station in the airport.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, and it's so great. You buy a ticket, you get on the train, and it just takes you straight to Lund. And so simple. Great. I feel like that's like the least stressful part of the whole experience over. Though when I first got here, I was like, this is gonna be a nightmare. But
Well, I remember when I first was traveling to Lund as an international student, I was sitting at home and I was like, how do I get to Lund? You know, do I buy a ticket to Stockholm? Do I buy a ticket to, somewhere else and then go? And it says on the website, buy a ticket to Copenhagen and then you take the train direct. And I was like, but really? Like, I'm going to Sweden? Like, what's this whole thing? but it really is so easy. So if there's any students out there who are thinking, how am I going to get from one place to another? It's super, super easy. Take the Øresundstog and you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the English of everyone is like so good here. So if you get lost, you just ask anyone and they'll be like,
for directions. Yeah.
So shouldn't be any worries there.
So shifting gears a little bit, Emma, in your free time, you seem to be quite the globetrotter, and you like to go around in Europe. So tell me what your favorite traveling experiences were, and where did you go? What was it like? Yeah, things like that.
Yeah. I've been super lucky, able to travel Europe a lot. I've done a lot of travel while I've been here in Lund, and then I did some previous to my studies. So I think that my favorite trip while I've been here in Lund was probably Norway.
Okay.
I just went to took the bus over to Oslo for a couple days and went to the fjords and the saunas.
Wow.
And it was super fun, but I'd say my all-time favorite Europe trip would probably be Bosnia, which is a weird one. A lot of people haven't been there, but I was it was so much fun.
Tell me about Bosnia.
Let's see. Where did I go? So I went to Mostar, which is the capital. No, it's not the capital. I don't think.
A big city.
It's a big city.
Yeah.
And it was super fun. It's just a very different vibe than the rest of Europe because they have a lot of mosques and stuff like that. So very interesting culture. They have this bridge that they're really known for in Mostar that these professional divers dive off of. If you
interesting.
If you egg them on enough, they'll do it, and you gotta give them tips. And once they reach a certain amount, they'll do it.
Wow.
And then there's this one random little town that I went to. I don't even know what it was called. It was in just the middle of nowhere, and there was just this really tiny little mosque and this 13th century Rapunzel tower that there was no one there, and I think it was really sketchy that we're climbing up it. We climbed up it, and you could just see the whole valley and the river and the mosque, and it was beautiful. And then we went to these waterfalls.
Wow!
To go swimming, and the coldest water I've ever felt in my life, which I think is saying something because I live in Washington State, and we're known for our glacial lakes.
Yeah.
And I'm for some reason this water in Bosnia so cold, but it was just beautiful, and the people there were so friendly, and the food is good, and it's a very underrated destination, so I'd recommend it.
How did you get to Bosnia? What was your flight? Did you take a flight?
I did not fly. Okay. I am all about that bus life.
Okay.
I'm a Flixbus girly.
Okay.
I feel there's times when you need to take flights, but something about Flixbus and train, and it's a lot less stressful than planes. You don't have to go through security or whatever.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you get a whole row of seats to yourself, and you can bring all your snacks and you download your movies and your books, and you can look out the window and see these parts of the country.
So it sounds like it becomes part of your trip.
Yeah.
Even. Yeah.
It's part of the vibe, and I've met lots of fun friends on the buses. I've taken some really crazy bus trips. But I got to Bosnia by taking a bus from Croatia. So it's a really easy trip if you're in Dubrovnik or Split. You can just take a bus over to Croatia. Or
to Bosnia from and then that sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah. So you said something a little bit about why you take sustainable transportation, but when you're in it and it's you're sitting there and it's 12 hours or what, I don't know, but do you ever reconsider that it's part of the journey? Do you, or
I think as Americans, we have a very different view of distance than a lot of other countries, because I grew up doing these crazy long road trips, so it doesn't necessarily bothers me as much as the other people, but I do think that it can be tiring. You're man, I could have gotten to this place so much faster. But honestly, once you add in the time it takes to get to the airport and go through security and wait at your gate and then exit and go through customs and get out of the airport. It kind of takes the same amount of time as this long bus ride.
Yeah.
So I'd rather just sit and relax on the bus the whole time.
Nice. So what has been some of your favorite destinations in Sweden? I know that before we started recording, we were talking a little bit about Göteborg or Gothenburg. So what was how was that trip? Did you enjoy your time up there?
Yeah, so I just went to Gothenburg 2 weekends ago with a bunch of friends, and we went to go see the Christmas markets.
Oh, nice.
It's like, I mean, as an American, you hear all about the European Christmas markets, and that's like a big bucket list thing for a lot of us, I feel like. So I was really excited for that.
Yeah.
Took the train up, really easy. Though on the train, there was like, the speaker above my seat was broken, so it was like squealing like the whole time. But you just end up like with your friends, you just like, you kind of like rolled the punches, and we're like laughing. We're like, sounds like a really bad DJ. Like, you just gotta make the most of it, roll the punches. But we made it up there, went to the Christmas market, ate lots of good food, and then we started hearing about the Northern Lights were coming out.
Oh, wow.
And apparently it's like not super common like this south in Sweden to see them, but we kept being like hearing about people in Lund seeing them. And so we were in our hostel at like 9 p.m. and we were like, okay, you know what? We're just gonna like go out.
Let's go
like
see.
There's a place like 15 minutes away we can go. So we like walked up this hill, like pitch black. And we got there, and there was, like, a ton of people there, and we, like, saw the Northern Lights just, like, randomly. Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's, like, kind of so fun. My favorite part about traveling is, like, the random moments, like, the things that you don't plan.
The unplanned
and you're like,
moments.
Wow. So that was super fun.
Wow.
And everyone tells me that 2024 is supposed to be real good for the Northern Lights. So anyone coming here,
check them out.
Check them out.
So you said something about a hostel. Now, tell me more. What hostel? You know, when you're traveling around, is that your preferred way of accommodation? And if so, why?
Yeah, I think I always stay in hostels, and are they the most comfortable thing in the world? No. If I had all the amount of money in the world, would I stay in a hostel? No. But for me, it's all about, like, traveling on a student budget. I have to, like, prioritize, like, what is more important for me to spend money on. And, like, at the end of the day, like, it's somewhere where I'm sleeping. Yeah. And I'd rather spend my money doing something fun or eating good food. Right. And, like, hostels can be fun. You can meet lots of fun people there. And usually, like, they're in, like, a really good location, like, right in the city center. And so... yeah, sitting on hostels, they're fun, hit or miss, but you just got to read the reviews and it works out.
That's good. Yeah. So when you're planning for a trip, how do you normally plan for a trip? I mean, what's your process that you go through for figuring out a trip that's going to be good on a student budget, that's going to be worth your time, but that you're also going to enjoy? How do you go through that?
Yeah. I have like tons of like save videos on like TikTok and Pinterest. I'm like all about getting travel inspiration, and so it's kind of, I'm the kind of person that I'm like, you can't think too much before you book. Like if you let yourself think about it, you get stressed, you're gonna overthink it. So you just gotta like go for it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna buy the train ticket, I'm gonna buy the plane ticket, buy the bus ticket, we'll figure the rest out later. And so usually that's the first thing I buy, where I'm like, okay, I just wanna go there, there's a good deal, I'm going to buy it. And then you're always looking on Hostel World and Booking.com are my favorite place for finding accommodations. I'm like a level 4 genius member on Booking.com. So like the more that you book, the better the discounts are. So I kind of think it's the gift that keeps on giving, because the more vacations you go on, the better your discount on your hotels are. So it's great. And then for each trip, I kind of have to know that like on a student budget, I can't possibly do everything that I want to do. So it's important for me to be like prioritized. So usually
how do you do that?
For me, I love to spend money on food. For me, like food is all about the experience. And so I'm usually will make like a food bucket list, I guess, for each place that I visit. And then I have to decide, okay, for each trip I'm gonna have like 1 or 2 like really nice meals where I'm just like gonna
splurge a little
bit. And then the rest of the time I'm all about, you know, I'll eat out at grocery stores or street food if you're in the right place. And then I usually pick one activity that I'm going to do. So for example, oh, I'm going to Spain pretty soon. And I was like, okay, my one activity for Spain is that I've heard about this like zip line that you can do.
Whoa.
And I'm like, this is my one activity that I'm going to do.
Whoa.
And the rest of the time, I really love to just kind of like wander, and you find like all these unexpected things. And maybe I don't like get to do like tours all the time, but again, the unexpected things are kind of my favorite. And if you plan out like every minute of your trip, you're not really going to have anything unexpected. And so
not super enjoyable.
So it's kind of like, it doesn't have to be planned too much. It's part of the fun, and it saves money to not over plan, honestly.
Yeah, I think there's a tendency for a lot of folks who are traveling, if that's even local or, kind of more regionally or even further away than that, that they tend to hyper plan. I need to plan out where I'm going to have breakfast, and then where I'm going to go and do this, and we're going to do that, and we're going to do this. And for me, I grew up with a family that was a hyper planning family. And so whenever we would take trips, and we still take trips together as a family sometimes, my mother, of course, goes in and she plans, let's do this. And she gets a lot of enjoyment in advance of going on the trip, of planning it out. But for me, when I started traveling on my own and visiting my friends in different parts of Europe, and even going on trips with my friends in Sweden, I kind of told myself, I was like, plans, we're not gonna, I don't really want to do a lot of planning. So in that way, Emma, I'm a little bit like you. I also tend to love my food experiences, and I like to pair them with a museum experience. Not necessarily that, I went to this museum and ate there and it was really great at that place, but I really love art museums, and love them or hate them. I think that they're interesting. I think they're interesting culturally, socially, things like that. So when I go to a new place, I'm like, let me see their art museum. What do they got, And there was an experience that I had where I've been to Copenhagen a couple times. And each time I've gone to something that has been what I would call culturally enriching. Like you go, and it's like one time I went to the ballet, which was a really great experience. And then I went to a couple art museums, also really fun in Copenhagen, just 30 minutes away. You could zoom down there on the train. But there was one that stood out to me, which was I went to the Louisiana Modern Museum of Art in Hammelbeek, Denmark, which is like right on the other side of the Øresund from where we are. And they have an amazing collection of modern art, and they have for many years. But the gardens are really beautiful. Okay. And the food was just out of this world. I mean, it was really, really, really good food at their little cafe there. So if anyone is thinking, I want to do a day trip, I don't know where to go, I always tell people, Louisiana, go to Louisiana. And not in Baton Rouge or New Orleans or something, but the one in Hammelbeek, so.
I haven't been there. I'll have to check it out.
You have to go. You have to go.
I'm a sucker for museums.
Yeah.
It's a good museum.
Yeah, that's my splurge. And usually when you go to a museum as a student at the university, they have some sort of student discount. So you can show them your student ID or something like that. And normally they give you a couple bucks off your ticket, which is always great.
Yeah, and a lot of museums do like free days.
Yeah.
I kind of like plan. That's the one thing about my travels that I'll sometimes plan around. I'm like, okay, what day? Oh, it's free day.
Right. Yeah, I can think of, I know for some students that come to the university, they want to see nature as well. They want to go and hang out in nature in different parts. And there's a lot of nature preserves in Skåne that are really fun to go see. There's like this is not a nature preserve, but there's a beach, Loma Beach. I'm sure you've been. Yeah, and it's a really fun little day trip. You can take the bus over there, go see what's going on. I went to, for my birthday this past September, I went to Kiviks Musteri, not to shout them out, but also to shout them out. It's like a little cider press, and you can go and they have like a little garden out there. They had a nice little cafe, and I biked from Lund out to this little place, and it was such a nice little afternoon lunch adventure, and you bike through the countryside, and it's such an enjoyable way to transit.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a lot of fun things to do in the region. But I know you've also gone to Stockholm, so I'm sure our listeners want to know what's going on in Stockholm. Did you like your time up there? What was it like?
Yeah, I mean, I was only in Stockholm pretty briefly.
Okay.
But I did enjoy it. I feel like it's kind of different from like southern Sweden.
Yeah, it is.
Culturally, it's a little different, and the way that it looks, like the architecture is different.
Very
but
different,
it's very. I think I was in Poland recently in Gdansk,
right.
and everyone was like. And I was like, oh, this kind of looks like Stockholm looks like Poland, like these cities that kind of look similar.
Yeah.
But Stockholm has a lot of like cool like cultural things going on. You gotta love the ABBA museum. Like concerts. And so I think it's fun. I want to go back again, definitely, especially maybe in the spring when the weather is a little nicer. Because like Swedish spring and summer is like so nice. Like the whole world comes to life.
It's really nice. Yeah. Say more about the Swedish. I mean, what is it? I mean, is it because we've spent our whole winter and fall in the rainy dark, or is it because there's something else really special? Or
I think I had it ingrained in me as like as soon as I land, they're like, whenever the sun is out, you have to be outside. Like you cannot waste a single moment of the sunlight. And like people take that to heart. Like you go out, and when it's sunny, everyone is outside, and everyone is
out.
Like sitting, and just like there's places in like the town square you can just like sit and like eat and talk to your friends, and you like go hiking and you walk around the parks, and people like will swim in like the oceans here, and it's just like a big like I guess like a social event to like go outside and enjoy the sun, and everyone is just like so happy and like comes to life, and it's just like so much fun, honestly.
It makes me think about there's a sociological kind of urban studies as well theory called third spaces, which is like an idea that it's not home and it's not work, but it's something else. So I think in Europe, from what I've noticed from living here, a lot of the third spaces that we have are outdoors, but they're also, different kind of institutions or buildings that you can go to, and they're everyone can go there, things like that. I think in America, where we're both from, there is a tendency to think like, we have like these parks and we have this, but the usage of it, I feel like, is a bit not the same as so connected to the public space of Europe. So I wonder, in your trips and travels, have you experienced like a third space, a public space, in a very different way?
I do think that, like you mentioned, like coming to Sweden and Europe in general is just like the work-life balance and just like the socializing aspect of it is just so different than the US. Because like you said, I'm like, I can go to the park back home, but I'll be the only one in the park. And it's like this beautiful sunny day.
Yeah.
And so I just think, like going outside, you're always seeing people, and just it's very like inspiring. Like you get inspired by all these people like socializing, and like on like the even like weeknights you'll walk around Lund and you'll see people like having dinner with their friends or like picnic, and I'm like, this is a weeknight, what are you doing? But it's just like when you see all these people and like all these spaces about, and maybe it's something to do with the fact that it's walkable, and I'm like seeing people around more than seeing people in their cars. But like it just like inspires me. I'm like, I just wanna go out all the time and just enjoy life.
I think that's been something that through my travels as well, like you say, when you travel to different parts of Europe, you find the similarities and the differences between, how Europeans are different kinds of Europeans in different parts of Europe are laying out cities in a historical way very differently than other places, things like that, for many different reasons. I've spent some time visiting my family in Brussels, which has a lot of they've done a lot of, moving stuff around because they had a lot of damage during the Second World War. And they also have really, really bad weather. Yeah. So there's a lot of cars for good reason. It's quite rainy all the time, things like that. So, sometimes it's a weird thing to go visit somewhere else outside of Lund. And, even in Copenhagen and to feel, or in Stockholm or wherever it may be, and to feel like, wow, the place is shaping it. The people are shaping the place. The weather is shaping the people and the place. But Lund is one of these very unique cities, I feel like, in terms of, I have a buddy who's doing his PhD, and he researches 15-minute cities, which is this idea that you can get all over and get to everything you need within 15 minutes. Or at least that's what I think he meant by what he was saying. But I think that's an interesting thing. I mean, when you go to a different place, you really get a feeling for something about how they set these, things out physically, but also in their being and things like that. Yeah.
You can tell so much from like their culture, just about like walking around and like seeing the people doing their thing.
And mixing that with the food and the music and the art and the activities. It's one of my most enjoyable things about living far away from home is experiencing things that are not, they put me out of my comfort zone, I think. I don't know if you have the same feeling as well. Yeah?
Definitely.
So if you're reflecting on traveling as a student, what pieces of advice would you give? And then also, what do you feel like traveling does to you? Those are two big questions. You can take them how you want to, but just as we come closer to the end here, I'm just wondering about,
I think that my biggest piece of advice, maybe it's like a little cliche, but just do it. Like
Nike.
Nike. Like that's what I get people that ask me all the time because I travel a lot more than the average person, I think. I have for like a couple of years. And so I get my friends from back home that are always like, how do you do it? And I'm like, I just do it. And so my friends, I'm like, I admire that about you. The fact that if you say you're going to do something, like, you just do it. And that, I mean, it's easier said than done. Like, it is a really hard thing. But I feel like once you kind of like get started, it's hard to stop. You just have to kind of make like that first leap of faith. And then after that, it's like addicting. And you're like, I can't stop.
Yeah.
But, and I do think it's changed me a lot in that way where I'm like, I'm like never going to be content staying still ever again. Like, it's just like, tell people I'm like, it is like a horrible problem that I have, this addiction, but it's like so great. And it gives me the opportunity to, I feel like, really create my dream life because when you're in your own country and kind of in your own bubble, you only know like one way of life, and that's kind of like you accept that that's how life's going to be, even though you're like, maybe that's not how you want it to be. But when you're like traveling and all these like different cultures and you're meeting like these people and seeing new ways of life, you're kind of seeing like, you're like pulling together like these pieces. Like my life has become like this mismatch of like all these different like cultures and these like quirks that I pick up from everywhere. And it's just kind of to realize that like, there's no one said my life has to be the way that, I was told it has to be like when I was growing up. Like there's so much more out there. And it's just like, it just inspires me all the time because I'm just seeing all this stuff and I always have like all these new ideas and I'm just like, so great.
One final parting piece of advice from my end with traveling would be, in addition to what Emma is saying here, which is I think is very important and inspiring, one thing is always going to go horribly wrong on a trip. So just accept this one thing going really bad. I mean, it could be you get squeezed in an airport connection. It could be that you become ill. It could be, but it's so worth it to still go on the trip,
They say do it for the plot. Like it's going to be a good story to tell someone someday.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. Well, Emma, thanks so much for being on the Lund University International Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
We're happy to have you, and we hope to hear it from you soon again. And thank you for your time, and for our listeners out there, safe travels. Thanks for listening so much to this episode of the Lund University International Podcast. If you're interested in learning more about Lund University, you can go to our website, lunduniversity.lu.se. You can also follow us on social media, on Facebook and on Instagram. And we look forward to having you listen to our next podcast soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.